right, everybody, how y'all doing tonight? I want to thank y'all for joining in. I know we got an early show tonight, but let me get my transitions right here. Oh, I hope I hit the right button. Anyways, I'm Josh Carter.
I'm James Bush.
And guys, we got a good show for y'all tonight. I know we don't have the big guest on like you would think with the pros, but we got a really big guest on for around here for our local area, Eric Catlett. It's gonna be a great show. He's really funny, and every time I talk with him, it's always a funny conversation. So, but we're gonna be talking about night fishing. We've actually had a couple people. A few people message us. Hey man, love to hear a night fishing show, and if most of y'all know, I love to night fish, and I know, James, you don't do it as much as you used to from where you moved at, but you'll still be a good help on our show tonight.
Yeah.
But anyways, want to start off by thanking everybody that has been listening to our show on Blog Talk and iTunes. It's really jumped up. And like I said, we couldn't do it without you guys. So we're super, super excited about how well this show has come in about a year and a half, and a little over a year and a half now. And it's just been fun. The whole road has been fun that we've been traveling doing this. So, but we really want to thank our sponsors, Falcon Rods, Yak Lights, Missile Baits, Costa, and then most importantly, Bob's Up the Creek Outfitters. They've done a whole lot for us. All of our other sponsors done a lot. Bob's been there really supporting us and moving us in another direction in the kayak fishing. So if it wasn't for Bob on that end, we probably wouldn't be in the whole kayaking fishing side of it. Well, as early as we would want it to. So really want to thank all those guys, but really without all you guys, we wouldn't have the show that we have tonight. So, but anyways, we got a good contest still going. Guys, we're close. We're at, James, have you checked it lately? Have you seen what we went up to?
I haven't checked it in the last couple hours, no, but I know that we've been jumping like crazy here over the past couple weeks, really. Yeah.
This prize pack right here, and I still, for some reason, didn't get the other prize pack up for our Facebook one, but this one is our, if you're watching on YouTube, this here is for our 200 subscriber. Once we hit that 200 mark, we're going to be giving this packet away. So, and everything in there from all of our sponsors. So, we're close, guys. We're at 166 subscribers. I'm hoping to be at 170 by the end of next week. I wish hopefully more than that. I'm shooting small here. So I'm hoping that we're at a higher amount. And so please, guys, share it with your friends. Share our page with everybody if you can. And you see a video that you like on our YouTube, hey, man, share it on the Facebook or whatever you can, because that helps get more subscribers and it gets us to that mark quicker. So anyways, enough begging for subscribers. On the Facebook,
there's never enough time.
No, it's never enough time.
We can do a whole show on just trying to get people to share our show.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, our next contest is our Facebook contest. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're really close. I think we were not subscribers. I'm sorry, followers or friends or whatever you want to call it. How Facebook does it. But anyways, we're at 971. I think. What was that last time, James? So, trying to get to 1,000. We got another giveaway. It's a nice Ranger hat. Some Strike King stuff, some odd end things in there. Stickers from us. I think it's got a hoe rag, like a buff in there. So from the Virginia kayak tournaments. So anyways, that's another great packet that we're going to be giving away on our Facebook. So, but anyways, we got a great show lined up. It's like I say, it's going to be all about night fishing. I've had some people say, "Hey man, what are y'all doing now to catch bass at night?" You know, the lake level's coming down. Some people have been struggling finding fish, catching catfish. It's just been a struggle. So we decided to put this together. Eric just had a tournament last night, so we're going to talk about how he did. I don't even know how he did. I didn't have a chance to really ask him before the show. So we're going to find out what his bite was like last night. But, James, I will tell you this. The lake has dropped a lot. I know they're probably pulling a lot of water to electricity. So, and I know my parents were at Leesville today, and they said they were really pulling water a lot today. So, so yeah, I mean, that really pulls the lake down and kind of makes it a little bit of tough fishing, especially if you don't like fishing deep. It kind of makes it tough. The shad spawn hasn't been really, well, that's over, and the shad haven't really been coming up good. And when you do hear them, you haven't really seen a lot of fish up there with them biting, so or hitting. And we'll go into more with Eric on what the bite's been like. It's not been that great for me. I'll say this for me. It's not been that great of a thunderstick bite this year. I've had to go to some other things and to really make it work. But James, before we get Eric on, let's talk about. Did you get anything today? I know you got a lot going on with the fair that's about to happen down there. So
I don't even touch my fishing rod this weekend. I feel like I should be smacked in the face because I haven't. But but the wife has been honeydew me big time this past weekend. So it's just been crazy trying to do this. She volunteered for the fair to be in the fair, but she volunteered to build a bunch of stuff. And
so
my wife's not that great with hand tools and power tools. So it's like she volunteered me to do all the work. So.
Yeah. She looks good. She gets all the credit, but
Oh, no. I made sure that didn't happen.
That's right.
But it's all good. That's just part of being married, I guess.
That's right. You got your man's list.
One of those good things.
Yeah. They pay for themselves later.
But you know what they say, happy wife, happy life.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right.
But but next weekend this coming up weekend we're gonna be hammering them pretty hard. So
yeah.
Fishing some new water and everything that. So
yeah. So I'm excited to get down there and get some fishing on, man. We went down to the Otter, took my son and my buddy Chris, and man, I tell you what, that river's really low right now, but we caught a pile of fish. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, it's the Otter. If anybody knows, it's a small river. So I'm saying we probably caught 30 or 40 fish today. A lot of brim and stuff like that. But we caught a lot of smallmouth, largemouth, red eye, and some really nice actually smallmouth for the river down there. So we got a video coming up for that. It's going to be maybe towards the end of this week before we really get it up. But anyways, had a good time with that. So, but hey, let's kind of get off that subject. We'll talk a little more about that later. But we got Eric. He's calling in right now. So let's go ahead and get him.
All right.
Hey, Eric, what's going on, man?
What's up, Josh? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, not too much, man. How you been today?
I've been drowsy. we did a 9 to 6. It was pretty tough. 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. this morning. Then I have about an hour and 15-minute drive home. So I was having my head out the window and playing the music loud. Had a little partner last night. He was trying his best to stay awake. It was a good time, though. I don't know that. Yeah, that was pretty brutal. 9 to 6, and in fact, a couple of game wardens came by and asked what time we were fishing till. And I told him 6, and he said, "Hey, good luck with that." It's better you than me. But I thought it would help. With the it has cooled off a little bit. I thought it would help. Get those water temperatures, that surface temperature down a little bit. Maybe bring those fish up a little bit more shallow. Like you just said a few minutes ago, we've been trying to fish deep all summer. Since the top water bite sort of fell off for me. I've been having to fish a little bit deeper, but I was thinking we'd find them a little more shallow, right before daylight. And it didn't happen for me.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, go ahead.
So we ended up. I ended up catching 3 bass all night long. I don't think I had another. Maybe I broke one fish off, and I might have had one more bite all night. I'm just, last year I was able to put together some decent night tournaments, and I've had some scattered luck this year. But to be able to put anything together consistently this summer, I've kind of been out of my element. I had some boat trouble, and it's been at the shop for 6 weeks out of it. So, that's a long time for the summertime. I don't get to go and play around very much. And that's how normally I'm able to find my hot banks, which dance around all over the lake. But, I was sort of out of my element all summer because, like you just said, that the shad spawn wasn't quite as good as it was the year before. And I was in the middle of some, fish feeding up shallow a couple of times this summer, but I wasn't able to catch them on top like I was used to. In fact, I might have the number of total fish that I was able to catch on top all summer and on one hand. Number of bass. Now I talk to stripers like that, but
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is this year because like last year and the year before, the thunderstick bite, and I will say another bait, but I don't want to right now. Sorry, guys. I had some people ask me not to say anything about. But the topwater bite for me with a thunderstick has not been. I haven't caught a fish all year on a thunderstick. Mine's been a whopper plopper. I mean, not a whopper plopper and a jitterbug, and that's it. I mean, like I wouldn't get nothing really on a whopper plopper. To be honest with you, I might have caught 3 fish on it up there, but everything else was coming off a jitterbug, and there wasn't no big fish. I mean, you're talking 14, 15, 16-inch fish, but good limit-sized fish to get you going anyways.
Yeah, I've talked to some people that have done really well on the thunderstick again this year, and there's a couple other baits people are throwing, which may or may not make a difference if somebody's blowing it out of the water. Good for them, but I have not found any other, to top water bait to speak of that they will hit at all. All summer, and again, I had a lot of downtime. I had the boat was at the doctor for most of the summer, so that does make a huge difference because it does matter where you are. Yeah. You can't just pull up to any bank. I mean, all the ingredients have to be there to make it happen, but. And usually I have to spend a lot of time fishing to find those hot banks that I can count on, and I wasn't able to do that this year. So I was a little bit behind the 8 ball, but some banks that have been good for the past, 2, 3, 4 years, just, I didn't even bother. Last night I might have casted the top water 10 times total, and I didn't even bother because it's been such a terrible summer. So basically what you're saying is that you have talked to some people that have had some good luck this year, finding something to do a little bit different, up there shallow.
Yeah, well, some stuff, on some top waters, but it's still not that great bite, like the 5s and 6s.
Right.
But it
mainly, man, I mean, go ahead.
Mainly it's just been like that. More the offshore bite this year, and for me and a couple other guys that I've been talking to, it's been more that offshore bite. I've been throwing the old ball and chain most of the year. Most of my fish this year has been the ball and chain on points, and I didn't hardly ever throw a Carolina rig at Smith, and I always threw it at Bugs. Bugs Island is the Carolina rig capital, I always call it, for me anyways.
Yep.
So this year it's been kind of a trick worm on a Carolina rig, and just changing up to the color you like, which I never used to think color was that big of a deal when you come from a green pumpkin to a black, but it does make a difference. So,
It does. I agree. And I fished the Carolina rig almost all summer now because of I think that what happened if in my opinion, is that we had such a mild winter. I think by the time our bass club kicked in and started fishing at nighttime, and I've seen this happen a little bit 4 or 5 years ago, by July 4th, that's over.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, in the mid-April, I think it was rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
In May, by the 1st of May, that thing was wide open, and that's my opinion. You take it for what it's worth, but you know, I've never seen nights. Josh, I went around and fished topwater 2 or 3 nights, and finally, that's when I decided, you know, I'm not even going to tie the thing on, because it used to be I had a Carolina rig on the boat. We were fishing 7 to 4. I'd fish that till 10:30, 11. Even, you know, you could get up on the bank as soon as it got dark and start around the banks and start catching them, and fish that the rest of the night and put all the other poles up. But that's just not that ain't happening now, man. It looked like I was bad fishing in the springtime last night with all this crap on the boat and tripping over poles, and you know, and you know, you know, I've been throwing some green pumpkin and you know, getting some bites, but you know, I switched to last night. I switched to black. I dropped the profile of my bait down a little bit, and you know, got a few bites. I caught 3 fish, you know, so I can't really say that made a huge difference, but I caught my best fish, which was right at 4 pounds, on a very small finesse, and I was throwing a finesse, you know, 3/8 Carolina rig on a spinning rod off of in 30 foot of water, and caught the best fish of the night like that, which is ridiculous. That's just total luck.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so, you know, I've been lost all summer. You know, like I said, I have put some decent bags together. I've caught some, you know, I've caught a decent fish each time, but, you know, putting, you know, the 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, 21 pound bags that, you know, I feel good about in the springtime, that just don't happen. I mean, for me this summer, but I've been fishing these Friday nighters, and I've been fishing several open that, you know, the same guys are coming in with 21, 20 pounds pretty regularly. So somebody knows what's going on, you know, so it's possible, clearly.
Well,
but,
did you fish the,
you know,
what was it, was it a Thursday nighter? Or what, that Rick, Johnny Martin and them come in with what, 14, 15 pounds? Did you see that picture on Facebook? They had 3 fish with that?
In 3 bass, it was 16 pounds, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something crazy like that.
It was 16 pounds, I think. 3 bass.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, that's awesome. That's great for them.
Yeah, and you know, how cool is it that those guys are going to 3 bass limits? That's cool, because you know, our small club last night, there was a couple of fish that were dead. That was like, if 5 fish, it's hard enough for me to catch. If I'd had 3 fish limit, that'd have been all right. Yeah, these guys are catching ridiculous fish, and you know, they're catching them every week. And that thing that Dwayne and them are doing at Captain's Quarters, are, you know, they're weighing big bags. They have big turnouts. So these people are getting way more excited about this time of fishing than I'm able to be at this point. You know, early in the summer, you know, I caught some decent fish, and you know, since then I put together a 14 or 15 pound bag maybe, and here and there, but you know, nothing way out. You know, I've had some success on a lot of different things, but nothing that I've been able to dial it in. But, you know, just using theories, you know, have you guys talked to anybody? Have they been fishing deep? I mean, so they've been fishing a little bit deep. Are they finding brush piles? Let's talk about, you know, I know nobody does this that's listening probably, or, no, I certainly don't. I know you've probably never, ever done anything like putting a brush pile in a lake.
Oh, no. Nope. But, nobody does that on Smith Mountain Lake.
Nobody doesn't, but, you know, I have stumbled across a couple, and, and you know, has anybody found new brush piles, you know, and caught fish? You know, are they throwing these big are they throwing these big jigs around them? You know, I often sit around and think about it, and I think the idea is great. But you know, is people?
Let me tell you what I've been doing. Let me tell you what I've been doing, and I'm probably going to have, and tomorrow morning, I'm going to probably have about 10 messages that they're going to be looking for me to kill me. But I got out the other week in the kayak, and I was on the phone with James, actually, when I stumbled across a school of smallmouth, the biggest school of smallmouth I've ever come across that actually had big smallmouth. I've come across schools where it's like, you know, 10-inch smallmouth, and you just keep firing and catching them and have a good time with it. But I'm talking 3-4 plus pound smallmouth, and that for me that's big. Now we know we got some of the guys that go out there, and especially early in the spring and fall, and win tournaments on just big bags of smallmouth. But I was cranking. I was taking a DT16, and I'm talking reel almost in the water, rod, you know, submerged, dredging the bottom. And I'm way off these points, but I'm going down. Like, I'm not really like if I'm casting to the point, trying to bring it down each side and down the middle, I'm not getting nothing. I had to come across that point, cast across it, and bring it over it. You know what I mean? And they were just loading up on it. But I did that all through the night and caught several fish in the 16-inch range, you know, 2 to 3 pound range, and all through the night doing that. And it just wasn't on one spot. But that's something else I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you've got on it. What about the smallmouth fishing all of a sudden? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people posting pictures of giant smallmouth up here on Smallmouth Lake right now.
My club has had, I caught a smallmouth last night, matter of fact, on a 10-inch worm, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's par for the course for me last night, but it was only less than 2 pounds. But we have had a good 3+ pound smallmouth weighed in almost each one of our terms. We also paid large smallmouth and big largemouth. So, yeah, I have seen some good smallmouth. Personally, this spring I caught a handful, but I have noticed that I guess I really didn't think about it, but yeah, I've seen a lot of better smallmouth being caught. I don't know if, where they're catching them. Randomly I'll catch one, but I certainly don't know. I know Van Dam came down and targeted smallmouth when they were there.
Yeah.
And I think he fished at lower end of the lake, but I have noticed some better smallmouth coming out of that lake.
And I know, like, when we fished when we had our winter series up there and you fished them with us, there was some pretty nice smallmouth that was brought in. Now, granted, that's kind of expected because it's cold weather, but.
Yeah, oh, wow, yeah. Some of those smallmouth were ridiculous. Well, I mean, that one guy had 6 pounds. That I can't remember. It was huge. I can't even remember who caught that. Yeah, it was enormous. One of the prettiest smallmouth I ever seen. And he had a largemouth to go with it, 6 pounds something that day. They had a great day, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because they can be a lot of fun. They're way more aggressive, and those fish, they'll bite a lot of times when the largemouth isn't. They're kind of skittish fish, but if you could sneak up on them and get in a school of them, they seem to school up a whole lot better than largemouth. And if you catch a couple, you might be able to have one of those days like you were talking about. But, for me personally, it's fell off. But, that's why I was kind of pumped about this show because, if a lot of people are, certainly we won't talk about the specifics of everything, but, that's what this show is all about, being able to get on the phone, talk about, hey, what's working, what's not. Everybody gets a little bit of information, becomes a little bit better, and this whole area gets better.
Yeah. And we was talking about the bite falling off, and I think I was talking to James about it, the last 2 or 3 times I've been up there where I was hammering them on a Carolina rig, that bite died. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're there, so I pick the crankbait up and go across there and start catching them. So I'm like,
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm like, I threw on this point probably, 7 or 8 times dragging this rig. Picked the crankbait up, cast it across there. In the second cast, I hung one. measured it, threw it back out there, lost a 4-pounder, threw it back out there and hung another one about 3. Caught another one probably about 14 inches. I left it alone, like it quit biting. I went to another point, threw a rig on it, and then didn't do nothing with the rig. I threw back out there that crankbait and caught one about 16 inches long, and went right back out on that point where I've been catching those fish and hung another nice smallmouth. But me being dumb and lazy, I never changed my hooks. I normally use the Mustad triple grips, and I never changed them on my crankbait. And I was losing left and right. It was ticking me off.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of the same. I'm guilty. You get so excited. You know, take 5 seconds to change the hooks to change your whole entire night. But nope, I can't do it.
Yeah, I got to hurry up and cast.
That's right. Make that 10,412th cast.
Yeah. Yeah. But
so the other part of this was, you know, as I'm wandering around a little bit last night, I did get to take one of my buddies with me. I think he's listening tonight. Is anybody having any luck fishing these docks, these deeper docks, shallow docks? You know, so many boat docks at Smith Mountain Lake, you know, you got to think somebody's figured out some type of dock pattern at nighttime. Have you ever heard of anybody that's doing any good on that?
Most of the people I've been talking to, it's been the brush pile. Now, not unless they got brush piles on docks. You know what I mean? Like, then you kind of got best of the both worlds. But, you know, and some people have been doing great on a drop shot, and then some people ain't been doing nothing on a drop shot. And I'm kind of the ones and then nothing on the drop shot this year for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they've all gotten sick and tired of that red crawl.
I hear you. No, the drop shot, I just got a whole new setup for that, a 6.6 medium. I got a much smaller pole. You know, I fine-tuned all of that. But, you know, and I think that down the road I'll have more luck as I, you know, get more comfortable with it and have more confidence in it. But I have not done a whole lot at nighttime on the drop shot, but I can see where that is definitely going to be something I'm, you know, last summer, the summer before, when I got to spend a lot of time, I would just pick a night and say, hey, this is tonight. We've got a little place at Mormon's way up the Roanoke River. And I would just say I'm just throwing crankbaits tonight, or I'm just throwing, spinnerbait tonight, or I'm going to just throw jerk baits tonight, you know, and I was able to do that just to see, hey, can you catch fish? Like, you know, had one of my buddies that threw a swim bait all night. He caught an enormous flathead. We thought he'd set the world record, but it snapped my net. It snapped my net in half when I was pulling it up over the boat. My whole net fell in.
Oh gosh!
The whole net part of the net fell off the side of the boat. But you know, I was able to pick a night and say this is going to be nothing but a spinnerbait at nighttime. So, you know, I was able to do that and try different stuff like that, but I just didn't have that time this year.
Yeah. Well, you know, and two, it's like you said, your boat was messed up, and something I've learned about definitely Smith Mountain Lake. This is true for any lake, but definitely Smith Mountain Lake is, if you do not stay on them fish, you're going to have a tough time. You know what I mean? If you do not stay on them, you're going to have a tough time. So
we fished every week of the winter. We fished every week with the exception of 2 or 3, just because the weather permitted it. This past winter, and that proved it, and it doesn't matter if it's fall, winter, spring, summer, it does not matter. You're exactly right. I could not agree with that anymore.
Yeah. And the thing about, like, these, man, I kind of lost my train of thought what I was going to say, but you know, like, some people talk about, they get, you know, you come in, or I'll talk to some guys at tackle shop or wherever on the phone, and they're like, man, how do you beat them guys, man? I get so aggravated. I was like, you know what, man? It is aggravating when you get your butt handed to you. But you got to look.
Yep.
Them guys are putting the time on the water, and that's what I tell them. It's like, you know, how do you beat them? Put your time on the water, man. There's no particular bait. It's the time on the water.
Nope. You find the bigger fish. it's a heck of a lot easier to catch these fish if you know where they are. You know, you're going to stumble across a fish basically the way that I've done in the past couple of weeks. You know, I've stumbled across some fish just, you know, using a little bit of logic, but you know, sooner or later, if you stay out there and you are putting stuff together and taking some notes, sooner or later you're gonna stumble across a pattern. Hey, this worked here. Let me try to duplicate it here, and then and you're gonna have a solid pattern. Well, by that time it'll probably be changing, but you know, to get in there and then make some notes and, you know, make some mental notes and then do it again at the same time next year. All right, the top water, the shallow water bites out, you know, dwindling. All right, here's what I'm going to do. And you look at these guys that are weighing big bags of fish all summer long. You know, they've probably been fishing for 10 or 15 years, watching it, paying attention to what's going on, seeing what works, you know, and trying new stuff and putting patterns together and following that year after year. And guess what? They were rolling to the scales with 19, 20, 21, 22 pounds. It's nothing to see some of these guys, and you know when they carrying their bag to the scale, if you don't have 18 pounds or you don't have 16 pounds, you don't even take your fish to the weigh-in.
I know, and that's my struggle sometimes. You might come in 11 or 12 pounds, you're like, maybe everybody else had a bad day. It might be that one guy, so I always carry him up there, but I'm like, this is embarrassing. Why am I weighing in 10 or 11 pounds?
You know, like last night, it only took, we fished from 9 to 6, and 13 pounds won the tournament. Yeah. And then it fell off to 10 pounds, and I think 9 pounds was third place.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So a lot of people are having a tough time, and, you know, the little bit of time that I've been able to fish during the day this summer, you know, I made a note a little bit ago, day versus night. The little bit of time that I've been able to fish during the day this summer, I've been able to catch some decent fish, you know, rather consistent. You know, I'm fishing some clearer water and trying to, you know, fish some moving baits, some swim baits, you know, even the drop shot with smaller baits in that clear water. And I've been able to catch some fish during the day, you know, when all the boats are flying around, it's hot, but you know, you catch some fish, you tend to forget a lot of that's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, has anybody had that luck during the day this summer? You know, I haven't fished a lot of the tournaments. Have the weights dropped off like you would expect them to after the spring bite? You know, has anybody kept up with any of that?
Well, that's what I was going to bring up was I've had, that's some of the people that's messaging me was like, hey, man, I can catch fish all the way up till dark. And then I can't catch nothing but catfish, you know? And I'm like, you know, and really sometimes you ain't even got to, especially this time of the year, you really ain't got to change it up. Just keep running the same stuff. Right. That's what I've been kind of doing. I've been running the same stuff that I was catching fish off of at dark, right before dark and through. But now you can make changes like, you know, you can still hit deeper water. Some people get it in their mind that, okay, it's dark, I got to go shallow because the fish are moving up. I don't do that. I always fish deep, and I stay deep all through the night.
Right.
But
I used to follow them up on the graph. You know, when like I was talking about a little bit ago, I used to take the Carolina rig and fish the Carolina rig from 7 till 9, and I would watch the fish on the graph, you know, and I was finding some schools of fish down the lake. And I would see them out deep, and I would make a couple laps across 2 or 3 different points that I had fish on. I'd come back through. They'd moved up 5 feet. I'd move my boat up 5 feet, and I'd catch one here and there. And then I'd fish my 3 points. I'd come back through. They'd moved up another 5 or 10 feet. And guess what? Next thing you know, you hear them blowing up on the bank. Then I get up on the bank and catch them that way all night. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and that was when I didn't even know, you know, I didn't even know about all of the stuff that's, I know now. I knew 2 things, and that's all I needed to know. And now it's like, you know, why can't it was so simple then? The fish hadn't changed. The lake hadn't changed. You know, what's the difference? The fishing pressure probably hasn't changed that much.
No.
You know, what's the difference? Was it the time of year? You know, how was the winter before that? You know, all of those things I think play into it. the timing and everything, certainly, but the lake levels, were they pulling water on those days? Or, the lake's way down. Last night I think it was 1.5 feet down. They're jerking water out of it like crazy, but they do that every year, right?
Oh, yeah. It all depends on that summer. If we have them real hot snaps, like where it was 100-some degrees there for the last couple weeks. The water temperature was at 89 degrees, and, people are burning the air conditioners up. So, I mean, they're going to be pulling water. I mean, my mom and dad was at Leesville today, and they said they were pulling water like crazy down there. So, everybody's generating power right now, and I mean, but you can get on the main channel and you'll fish some of them docks right before dark, and you put your drop shot down by them, and you can see your drop shot going up under the dock, depending on which way you're fishing, because of the current, and you don't realize that the current is that strong. So, it all depends on where you're at, and where that river channel kind of makes a bend up against a bank somewhere, or however. It all depends on where you're at. But
I bet you fishing out of that kayak, you notice it too.
Oh yeah, you do. I mainly stay, like if I go in, I mainly stay in one little cut, and I try not to go nowhere near that main channel because there's so many crazy people on that lake at night. I'm going to tell you something. And James, you can relate to this. I'll get you in on this conversation. I've been kind of running my mouth. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
But something I've learned, Eric, and I like to get you out in one time. Just bring you a couple of rods and reels and go out kayak fishing. Dude, I have learned so much about one area because I have to stay there and fish it, and you have to learn it.
Yes.
I mean, James, you can vouch for this. It really, I feel it makes me a better fisherman just fishing out of a kayak because you are forced to learn that area and you're forced to only use so many different techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean,
you learn stuff about that area that you're in, and you learn how to fish that stuff a little bit better.
Yeah.
We know where the fish are at. You know what I'm saying? So it's just making them bite. So you're just working them until you make them bite at this point.
Yeah.
You just keep throwing baits and baits and baits until you don't have enough room in your kayak that you weren't able to put that bait in your boat.
Yeah. and like in a bass boat, we get kind of lazy. That's what I always say. You get kind of lazy because you're like, oh, heck, they're not biting here. I done fished these 2 spots. I'm going to fire the boat up and head down the lake. You can't do that now. Now you're like, I've got to fish this. I've got to figure them out. And that's something I've been able to do in this area. I've been able to follow them. It's like I know that, the Carolina rig bite fell off, so I started cranking, but I was still in them areas. I kind of figured out where they were going, either way to feed for the spring, summer, and now, setting up for getting close to that fall time. We got another month or so, but getting close to that fall time and where they're going to transition from now.
Yeah, I mean, one of the notes that I wrote, what's the main factor? What pushes the fish into the fall transition? We're right here in August, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it or not, but last night fishing 9 to 6, I certainly did, and Kenton did. The guy was fishing with me. It got chilly, and a couple of weeks ago I was fishing. It was 1:30 a.m. and I had a bead of sweat that hadn't stopped all the way down my face, and it was hot.
Yeah,
hot. And so I'm wondering, is it when everybody says, when it gets to this temperature, the fish do this, but I found this winter that wasn't exactly the case. I mean, is it the moon? Is it the length of the days? I mean, what gets these fish moving back in these creeks? Is it, do the shad start running to the backs of the creeks? What exactly is, what you guys, not what you've read, but what you guys see to be the fall pattern, and what is it that gets these fish going back there?
James, I'll let you answer that first. Go ahead.
I think it's got a lot to do with like the cold fronts and stuff at night and everything like that. I mean, when it starts getting cool and everything like that, I think these fish, they know way more than we do about the seasons.
Yep.
And when they start to feel it, I feel like that they just start transitioning very slowly. But like you're saying, when it gets cold, I really do think that that's when they're, they're not there yet, but it is shocking them. Like in the springtime when a cold front comes through, it'll just kill it sometimes. And I mean, I think the same thing happens in the fall. And then, even though it's 100 degrees outside, or a cold front comes through and it's 70 degrees at night or 60 degrees at night. I mean, that's a shock. That's shocking them. I mean,
it was
really,
61 last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that in the fall, the cold fronts coming in shock the fish less than in the springtime, in my opinion. But
well, I think you get a good.
Fall,
I'm sorry, James. I didn't interrupt you.
No, you go ahead.
I think when you get a good cool front like we got right now, we still got it in the mindset to go out and throw a topwater in that cool morning. When you have a 90-degree days, and then all of a sudden you get these cold snaps come in, you get some high 50s, low 60s. But I think, in my opinion, and I think James is right on that, on the cold, once you start getting these shorter days and some cooler nights. But I also think, like you said, the moon has a lot to do with it. I think, because the moon has a lot to do with the spawn.
Oh,
so I think the moon phase also, because I know when I started catching those fish on those crankbaits, I ain't seen hardly no shad in the last couple of weeks coming up. Towards before it gets dark, you see the water bubbling in areas. And all of a sudden, about mid-creek, I start seeing all these fish bubbling up. So I start throwing my crankbait, and I start catching fish mid-creek and some towards the back, but nothing real consistent towards the back of the creek. But if I moved towards the main channel, I wasn't getting those bites. As soon as I started moving about mid-creek again, I started picking them fish up again. So, you got your cool weather, but it all also dictates off the shad and it dictates off the moon, I think, because the shad, they're going to follow them shad. You know what I mean? So
sure,
if they're about mid-creek and they're loaded because that water temperature is just right for them, that's where they're going to be at.
So would you agree that the shad, once they spawn, most of the shad spawn out on the main lake? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've gone and hear them in the back sometimes, but you just don't get that consistency in the back of them like you would on the main channel.
Right. Yeah, sure. And so wouldn't you agree that after the shad do their spawn, they start heading back toward the backs of the creeks again, where the water tends to be a little more stable, in the fall and, in the even into the winter?
That's a good possibility. Well, a lot of that, too, dictates off of how much rain we got. You know what I mean? Like the shad feed off that runoff. So if you got a lot of rain, you got a lot of runoff, they're going to move in those creeks because of all the little stuff they eat, all the, I don't know what you call that stuff.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I think they start after they spawn, they start their way back towards the middle of the creeks. And then as it gets colder and cooler nights, they're in the very backs of those creeks.
Right.
But like
they're chasing water. They're chasing water temperature too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you get a lot of rain, if you get a lot of rain, that might pull them back even quicker. You know what I mean? Depends on how, like all this coming up week, we're supposed to get several days of rain. And let's say you get it through the weekend,
Yeah, well, late in the summer, like I was saying, we have a place in Mormons. Later in the summer, right before the kids go back to school, we try to spend quite a bit of time out on the lake, just trying to catch up for lost time during the summer, ripping and running. But I will see schools of shad in the wider areas of that river, the size of cars. You might be able to see 7 different schools of those from one side, within seeing distance from one side to the other, up a stretch of 50, 75 yards, 7 schools.
Yeah.
Up in the river, way up in that river, And I've thrown everything you can imagine through those things, and it seems like that they're isolated and they're not, it would be almost impossible for fish, it's so many of them that it's, you know, they have all migrated way up that river. You know, I think that it would work, you know, in each creek and everything else pretty much the same way. Would you agree with that? I mean, that it's just they're condensed. They're in there so thick that it's, you know, it's balls of them that are the size of, you know, my truck.
Yeah.
And it's 7, 8, 9 of them, 9 of these things. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's got to be fish on them. And I never have, you know, really caught a lot of fish on them. In fact, I've never grasped anything large below any of those. I haven't spent a lot of time doing that, but, you know, that's the direction certainly that they're headed.
Yeah. Yeah, they're making their way up that river. They're making their way into back some creeks, and you know, you see it. I mean, in the fall when you go to fish a tournament, you don't really. I mean, you'll see some guys that'll fish a main channel, but most time they're running creek to creek to creek to
back.
creek. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But so when do you?
I wanted to touch back on the moon thing again. I have noticed when I've always fished in the summertime, or you know, anytime when the moon is high and really bright at night, you catch. Sometimes I've caught more fish that way because the fish seem to feed more at night.
Yeah.
But if it's a real dark night, it's really tough to catch fish for me in the past. If it was really dark and cloudy at night, the bite was so much harder to come by because there wasn't enough moonlight out there for, you know, I don't know what it did to them, but it just seemed to affect them, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think so.
I've had some killer nights with that moon up too, but I've had some killer nights when you throw something out there on top and you can see it almost as well as you can during the day, and then wham, you know. I've had that happen a lot, but you know, I'm just thinking back that I really haven't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
That's a great point, James.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just something that I had always noticed. You know, if it was real dark and it was real gloomy, like night where it was just pitch black on the lake, where you can't see hardly nothing, it was really tough. It's almost like it's like a bluebird sky day or something, you know, when you're trying to fish during the summertime or just any time, you know, when it's bluebird skies, the bite's just not there, but the fish should be in this. But like at night, I've never had any luck.
Well, that's just.
How about that?
That's just like the other night we had. Was it last Friday night? I think it was. It was one of them days. We had all them thunderstorms that come through, and it was a break in the weather. And I loaded up. I was like, I'm gonna go up there. The topwater bite's got to be insane right now. You know. Nothing. I mean, nothing. And I was like, what the world? So I went back through with the Carolina rig. I didn't crank none because I didn't even bring no crankbaits in because I've been catching everything off Carolina rig. And I threw a big worm and never got nothing. It's like those nights when it is rainy and a lot of storms coming through, it's always tough for me as well. Not unless the storms are done and clear out, like in May.
Then it can be dynamite. Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, you hear a storm come through. I talked to one guy. He's like, you know, during May and June, like if I hear a storm come through, it could be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to load the boat up and head to the lake. Like, because I know when that storm's gone, the bite is going to be insane. So.
Yeah, I had a guy going down for the first time. A storm came in and we jumped in the truck. We just had put the boat in the water, and he said, "Oh man, you know, it's kind of ruined it." And as soon as the storm went through, we fished, and he thought that was the way that it's always is. You know, he was about to go buy a boat. He thought that it was that I mean, it was just like you said, it was dynamite. And it was his first time out. He thought that's how it worked every single time. And he was like, oh, I can see why. And I said, wait a minute. It don't work like this every time, man. Wait a minute. But, yeah, I've had great luck like that. I've had great, you know, the storm comes through and I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
It just gets the fish very, very active, and then they feed really well after that. In fact, I've caught them in a variety of ways. I've caught them. I'm not a big crankbait fisherman, but I have caught a decent amount of fish on a crankbait after a thunderstorm goes through, just letting my buddy fish, you know, the top water, and I was fishing out to the side. But, yep, I don't know what the correlation with that is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. The bite's good. That's all that matters. So, Now let me ask y'all this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was wondering, I wonder if that eclipse that's going to be happening here, I think it's pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder how that's going to, I wonder if that's why the bite, could be slowing down too. You just never know what, what they know that we don't know that they could sense that, is different,
Yeah, I mean, anything like that. If you're out on the water and it hits, who knows? Your bite might be good for how long does the clip last? What, a couple minutes? It could be an insane topwater bite in the middle of the day during the eclipse. You just don't know.
hey, it could be like the best fishing you ever had for those 3 or 4, 5 minutes or whatever.
Next thing you know, you're digging through your farmer's almanac, waiting on the next solar eclipse.
Sit your vacation up.
Schedule your vacation. Yeah, schedule your vacation around the next solar eclipse by putting that in the freaking farmer almanac.
Oh man! But let me ask y'all this now.
Oh crap!
Now I've noticed, and mainly more in the spring, and this might not do too much with night fishing, but I've noticed, like, if you're going out during the day to fish and you get a full moon all night long, have y'all noticed that the next day the bite can be really tough?
Yep.
What is it?
I sure have.
Is it that they feed all night?
I sure have.
Yeah.
See, that's what I think. That's why I was pretty much goes to the same thing, that I was talking about. If that moon's up all night, I think they feed all night, which makes it twice as hard to catch them the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed it personally. I've seen that more at bugs. I don't know what the difference is. For me, bugs seems to be a little more finicky than Smith in terms of fishing patterns and how consistent bugs. Man, the wind blows a little bit different direction or a little stronger, and it totally changes everything for me. And that's just for me, but. Yeah, I've seen it more there than Smith, or I've paid more attention to it there than Smith, just because I guess I'm more sensitive to it, because I've seen fish cut on and off. But, yes, I have seen that more so, somewhere besides Smith than on Smith. But I don't know. I don't know. I wish we had somebody that could explain that to us, a game biologist.
Yeah. I know.
Game biologist.
Yeah, because
I mean, the blueback heron that's down there too. Maybe they're just gorging like crazy because of all the blueback heron. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah.
So all of you marine biologists that are listening, you feel free to call in at this time.
Tyler Marshall, I know you got. Come on, man, you did all that marine biology. You got to call in and let us know something.
You call in here and tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, and for anybody, I've been posting out there, call in if y'all want to talk fishing or whatever. I know a lot of this show is we don't get so much live as we do as people listening through, the next couple of days through iTunes and Blog Talk. So, but if you are listening, call in, talk about it. Our phone number is 347-850-8799. So if you want to call in and talk about it, because we would love to understand that, the whole moon phase, because that's something I've always looked into, is the whole moon phase. And you hear a lot of the pros talk, some feel that it don't really bother them too bad. But some, will talk about that's what really fires off the whole spawning. But I will say this, and me and James was down there at the Classic in March, and we didn't realize I don't know, I think I slept through it. James might have noticed how bad a storm was that come through there one night. And I'm going to tell you what, when we walked out of the hotel, there was like some of the little trees they got growing, they were all blowed over or twisted up or whatever. But a lot of the guys, when they come in and we was talking to them after they weighed in, was talking about the bad storms that come through and the lightning. How the lightning can kind of freak these fish out that are on beds and kind of pull them off the beds. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And, does that happen at nighttime? Does that really affect it? Because I've noticed if I got storms all around me, if you got one storm that just rolled over you and you got another storm that's going to come in, I've noticed that I have a hard time catching fish. And I wondered, too, if the lightning really spooks the fish at nighttime.
Bobby Lane, when I was in the boat talking to him, he talked a lot about that. He said, man, it just shuts things down. He said there's a thunderstorm at night the night before. He said normally it won't be midday before the fish start biting real good.
Yeah.
It's some of the stuff me and him talked about. He's like, we hate thunderstorms when they roll through. He said because the bite's going to be tough the next morning.
So that's
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had forgot that we talked about that.
Yeah. Now, hey, I got a caller coming in. Let's check and see who this is. Hey, buddy, thank you for calling in to OneObjective. Who we got on the line?
Hey, Josh, it's Justin from Lynchburg. How are y'all tonight?
Oh, not too bad, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I was listening to you talk about throwing the Carolina plastics at night. Are you putting any type of rattle or anything in those to draw more attention to them?
No. Well, what I do is I put beads on, right at the weight. So you slide on your egg sinker, and I put on 2 glass beads. And then I put my swivel on, and then I tie my leader off of that. I know some people will throw like a brush hog or what's that thing Greg Biffle's got? The Biffle bug. And they'll throw that and put the rattle inside of them. And that will work too. But yeah, that's how I do mine. Eric, I mean, how do you do yours? Do you put a rattle in yours any?
Yeah, I used to use a couple of beads. I've played around with 1 bead and 2 beads and clicking, and I ran out of beads, the glass rattles. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's, at some times they want. I talked to a local pro that said that he will buy the rattleback jigs and put the glass rattles in the trailer. He says even if it has rattles, he adds to it. He swears by it. But for me, I don't. I've had people fish with me that throw. I don't do it on a Carolina rig, but I've had people fish with me that fishes like a shaky head or something and put a rattle in that, where the bait is closer to the actual weight, because I depend on my weight bouncing across rocks to make noise rather than the glass beads or the actual rattles inside the plastic. But that can go either way, and I guess that's going to boil down to once you get out there and use that. I've tried at nighttime throwing a 5-inch swim bait and put a rattle in the tail so that it shakes and make noises. But, I've spent just a little bit of time with that, and that may be effective, but I hadn't caught enough fish to even say whether, that works or not.
Yeah. Does that help you out, Justin? I recognize that voice after you started talking.
Yeah. It was first night listening to the show. I like what y'all have going on.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we like hearing from everybody. And you got any more questions, or?
I know you mentioned Eric was throwing a 10-inch worm at night. When you're kind of varying sizes of baits, are you going as low as like a 4-inch bait and then all the way back up to a 10?
The 10-inch worm is what I've been throwing at nighttime, and I have caught, with the exception of last night, I caught a smallmouth under 2 pounds on that. Every fish that I've caught on that 10-inch worm has been a really, 3 pounds plus, all the way up to over 6. I weighed one the last tournament that was 6'10". Caught him on the big worm on a Carolina rig. So every fish I was catching was really good fish. I was not catching a lot of fish. So last night I said, I had a 4-pound bass. I had one that was, 2 3/4, and another, the smallmouth. And so I was just trying to fill my limit out at, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I dropped back and fished a, 4.5 inches like grub, Yamamoto creature bait, and caught a fish. My partner caught a fish off the same one. Then I fished. I did end up fishing about a 3.5 inch a crawl on a 3/8 inch. I did like a finesse Carolina rig setup and caught 1 4 pounds off of that. So, I only had 3 fish last night, but it was the first time that I had really downsized that Carolina rig bait enough and through it enough to say, this works or it don't work. So, whatever that's worth for you, I would have, if I were to go fishing again tonight, I had 3 Carolina rigs tied last night, and I would have 3 to 4 tied tonight if I went, and I would dance in shallow and deep again, and just knowing that the fishing's tough right now and do what I can,
Well, I know down at Bugs, I've changed up before and went to a smaller finesse worm, like a Zoom trick worm. I mean, not a trick worm, but a Zoom finesse worm.
Finesse worm?
Yeah, and I've gone to that, and I've used some of the robo worms when it comes to the smaller worms on the Carolina rig, but a lot of times that was always, I'm going to say, like closer to May, after they've spawned. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of finicky, mm-hmm. but they want to feed, but they're kind of in that funk. So I'll go to that smaller bait, mm-hmm. even a brush hog, and throw that out on them points and stuff like that. But I always go with a lot smaller weight though when I'm throwing a small finesse worm. I don't go to that bigger weight with that smaller worm. Because what it does, it makes you work that bait slower to keep that bait on the bottom, as you would a heavy weight. Mm-hmm. So
normally, Josh, you're throwing on your Carolina rigs a 1/2 or a 3/4 ounce bait?
Yeah, that's about all I got. I got guys that go to 1 ounce. There's a guy, Jackie, that used to be in our club. I mean, that dude sounded like he was throwing an anchor off his back, and I'm like, good gosh, man. But
God, Iaconelli talks about throwing a 1 ounce Carolina rig.
Yeah, I just
really windy conditions, deeper water. I've never done it. My brother's done it, but I've never done it.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to do it. But maybe there might be a time one day I have to. But yeah, Justin, to get to your point there, yeah, I mean, you can throw a small finesse bait on there, but you just kind of got to figure out the time that they're feeding. Like if it's a tough bite, yeah, go to a smaller bait. But if it's a good bite, which you want to start big, then go to a big 10-inch worm. I know some people go all the way up to that big man's jelly worm. How long is that thing? Like 12, 13 inches long, something like that?
Yeah, or the Magnum, old monster Magnum, which is 25 inches long, it seems. Yeah. Yeah, you got your leader, you got your 2-foot leader, and then you got your old monster Magnum on the back of it, and it feels like you got another 3-foot leader. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But I tend to always start with, they have those, the big brush hogs. Everybody talks about those, fishing those. Everybody, I even picked up a bag and fished a little bit of that lizard, that 8-inch lizard a little bit last night. I didn't get a bit on that, but I think that's something I'm going to try to use more, that old monster worm. And then, as it gets closer to weigh-in time and I've either got those big bites or I haven't, and I'll drop back, and if I feel that limit at, then I'm reaching back for the bigger bait. That's just what I do.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Justin, you got any more questions, buddy?
No, that's it, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I'll hang up, that way we can get somebody else to call in.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate it, man, and I'll see you later, buddy.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
See you, Jim, man.
So yeah, that's cool though. Like you're talking about on your Carolina rigs, kind of changing the size up. I'm glad he brought that up, because really we ain't talked about that. It's changing, man. Listen to my voice squeaking. I sound like a 12-year-old.
No, I heard it all the way over here. I wanted to say something, but
hey,
I didn't.
Man.
I was like, holy moly.
I'm watching on my. I can see when we're talking, and then like it spiked real hard when my voice squeaked.
He's becoming a man right in front of us.
I know it, right here in front of your very own eyes. I'm becoming a man.
Yeah.
It's about time.
I know, right? God. Oh man. But no, and that's something we ain't really talked about. I know we're kind of on the night bite and Carolina rigging, but it's throwing a smaller profile bait, and I don't do it a lot. I don't switch up a lot, but there has been times where I know I can catch them on a Carolina rig, and I'll change up a little bit. But man, that's tough when you got to switch that small bait.
Oh man, I mean, I won't fish. I won't switch to that. How about those guys fishing those floating flies in the freezing cold and fishing, you know, when the bigger bite's supposed to be on, you know, in March and February, and they're fishing those small finesse thing or throwing that drop shot in 40 feet of water with that little, what's that little flick shake? What is that? All that.
Oh yeah.
Real tiny bait, and they use it over at Clater Lake all the time. But you know that drives. Yeah, there you go, the Ned rig. What is that? Would drive me berserk. And people are catching 6-7 pounds. You watch Aaron Martins catch huge bass on small worms. You watch all these pros throwing a 3.5-inch worm catching 7-6 pound bass, especially those smallmouth.
Yeah.
On these small finesse baits, and which drive me berserk, man. You know, so you can downsize. I mean, it's proof that you downsize, you catch good fish. But man, I don't have it in me, and you know what? I'm probably lose to. I went down this past year. I didn't have hardly any. I wouldn't use any plastic, and then I went to Bugs Island, and my club just. I didn't weigh a fish. I was fishing big swim baits all day and everything across points, and these fish were finishing up bedding. They were in that finicky state, like you guys said, and these guys were wearing them out on the worm, which I was too stubborn to use, and I got wore out for a couple tournaments. And guess what? Now I got 3 spinning rods in my rod box.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got a lot more plastic, and I've reached down into missile baits and got involved with those guys and caught some good fish. In fact, we were at 6-man, and I qualified to fish for the state fish off with those missile baits. So, you know, if you're not too stubborn to try some smaller and different stuff, then you can turn it around. But man, it took me forever.
Yeah. Well, you know, me and James always talk about keeping it simple. You know, like we've kind of made the way we set up for fishing now is keeping everything simple. But there comes a time, you know, when you come to downsizing, you know, still keep it simple. Keep your same colors. You know, your pumpkins, your watermelons, and you know, June bug's a good color to add to that list. But you know, buy baits where you can you know, it can be different companies, whatever. You know, from creature baits to worms to, you know, beaver styles, but just keep the colors you like to throw, and it makes it a little bit easier just to downsize to those baits and those soft plastics.
Yeah. So I don't know how much more time you guys have left, but talk about June bug. When do you guys use that color?
We don't need to talk about that color.
You know, it's is it a nighttime bait? You guys throw June bug during the day? Do you throw watermelon during the day? Everybody knows. Well, I would think that the most popular color is green pumpkin, but June bug and watermelon. You know, can you talk about those? You know, when you use those in those situations.
James, can we talk to him about how we discovered June bug?
Yeah, I guess so. Mine as well.
You spilling the beans, Josh. Spill them.
I mean, you know, we didn't want to talk about that color. I shouldn't have never brought that color up. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people around Smith know that color. But
I can't wait till you come down here this weekend.
Yeah.
I'll smack you.
I bet you can.
I've got a whole boat full of it, and I look at it and I'm like, no, it's not gonna work. No.
Yeah, it don't. You ought to throw every single one of them away. I throw them all away.
Just put them outside and Josh will pick them up.
Yeah, let me know where you're throwing them out of.
Yeah.
I'll take them off your hands. Get that garbage out your hands there. But no, you know, June bug is a color that it's a really good color, but it's a time and place, like say, for that color. Now, granted, we've gone up there before in the middle of the day in June. This is back in the days when me and James was in high school and was using his 12-foot boat, and that's when Water Wheel was there. I don't know. I don't know if you were fishing much in or what when old Water Wheel was there.
Oh yeah.
And we had.
Oh, I loved Water Wheel.
Yeah, I miss those days. I wish that was back the way it was. But
Back when Big Ron's tackle was still up there.
Yeah. The glory days. But no, anyways, James got to talking to an older fellow up there. I don't know if it was there. I don't know. Lake got to talking about June bug. Right?
Yep. It was a neighbor that I had.
Yeah.
He told me about the June bug colored worms, and we went up there and
just started. I mean, man, it didn't matter if it was sunny. It didn't matter if it was cloudy. But it was during the summer sometimes, and we go out in the fall and all that and catch them. So June bug, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Something to do with the color. I don't know, but I know June bugs.
It's different, but like every manufacturer's June bug is different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's certain June bug worms that work better than other June bug worms. So it's just one of them things, once you get into using them, you need to switch up. Like down here where I'm at, June bug is just a color because there's no night fishing down here because the rivers are so crazy.
Yeah, right.
And so, June bug is just a thing. I mean, it gets thrown all day long down here.
Yep.
And,
right.
But you got darker water. It's a darker water down there too.
Well, it's like tea colored. Is what I would say the best. What it resembles the best is like tea colored. And I mean, people catch fish like that on it all day long, but it all comes with having confidence of what you're throwing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's right.
This old timer just told me about it, and then we just threw it until we caught fish on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
and we didn't have any money, so all we had was June bug worms at that point. So we didn't have a choice but to throw it.
but now, like when it comes up to switching colors, like we was talking about, watermelon seed. I throw watermelon in the fall and winter. That's what I throw. I don't really throw much green pumpkin then. I might throw watermelon with some red flake, but once wintertime hits, I don't really throw green pumpkin much. It's all, especially because you're in that clearer water, whether you're up the river or not. It's clear. So it might not be down there at Craddock's Creek clear, but it's clear. And so that's what I go through is I start throwing that watermelon color. I don't know what it is about it, but I have more luck off of that on a drop shot or something during the fall and winter than I would a green pumpkin any day. But
well, this time of year, I've just noticed it lately, and I don't know why really, but in the summer, and I've probably looked at it more in the last 2 times I've been fishing, but in the summer, almost all the water is the murky color because of the amount of algae that's in the water right now.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, you can still find clear water, but even if you go to the Craddock Creek, the water is not as clear as it is during the wintertime when all that stuff dies or, goes to the bottom or wherever all of that goes during the wintertime. But, all the water right now is murky, all of it.
Yeah.
So, the darker colors may be helpful to use darker colors during the summertime, even in the daytime.
That's right. Yep. And a lot of times when I'm throwing something June bug, now granted, things work out different for James down where he's at, but it's always a small worm. It's a finesse, like a zoom finesse, or it's a zoom U-tail, or something. Something smaller. It's never. I don't ever really throw June bug in like a big worm. So
I don't own a June bug worm like an old monster or a mag 2.
Yeah.
Well, I've got
caught fish off of them.
Well, I've got a lot of June bug brush hogs that like I say, are just going bad because I just look at them and I'm like, it's a little. What is that supposed to look like? You know?
Yeah.
Well, you can slay them on certain lakes.
Yeah.
With those.
But you kind of think about it. Look at June bug.
The big brush hogs or the baby brush hogs? You have the big or the baby?
The big ones.
Yeah.
Well, I have both of them. I have several enormous boxes full just because, I just got them from my dad when, that's all the stuff that he had. back when he was around, and I just sort of inherited it, and I have it now. And he didn't just have them just because it was a cool thing to stick in the boat. He evidently used it a lot, but I just haven't found that in my arsenal. I haven't been able to add that to it, and I don't feel comfortable about that. A lot of people have. A lot of people say they use that all the time. I just don't. And was just wondering, personally, how that worked out for you guys.
Well, the thing
watermelon. I don't use a lot of watermelon either.
Yeah, well, this is my thing with trying out baits, and this is something that's really helped me a lot. I don't fish a lot of tournaments this year. Well, I haven't. I just fished some of the castaway stuff, and then been fishing the kayak tournaments. And something I've learned this year, I've tried new baits and new colors this year, because last year when I was fishing, most of the time when I got out to fish, it was during a tournament. I didn't have a lot of time to go out and just practice,
Yeah.
So
now,
this year I have found some more baits I got more confidence in, like crankbaits, because I would have never ever thrown them during a tournament. So now I don't fish as many tournaments this year. I've actually had time to throw these baits and actually found some baits that do really well. So
that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for that. To be able to go out and fish, a lot of people won't load the boat up unless they're going to fish a tournament, and I'm one of them a lot of times. But, when I have time to even take a buddy and go fishing, and when you're not fishing a tournament, just to try different stuff and look around. I've got my kids hanging off the back of the boat, jumping off of the little inner tube that we pull around, and it's not a whole lot of fish being caught, but guess what? I'm finding brush piles, I'm finding rock, I'm dragging the Carolina rig around. I don't catch a lot of fish, but I'm learning a lot, and it's a lot to be said for that, Josh.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've that's how I am with my kids. What I used to do was when I worked for another company and I had time now, every day I knew I got off at 5 o'clock. And then, there were certain times my wife was off, so she would have the boat hooked up. When I got home, all I would do was pull out the driveway. So what I learned to do, it was back in the glory days. But anyways.
Oh, yeah.
So what we would do is I would say, okay, you know what, we're going to go, because my son loved to swim. And I would say, okay, we're going to go to this cut today. And while you're swimming, I threw the rope off the back. So when I was trolling around, I said, hey, man, hold on to the rope. So I would fish that whole entire pocket. And if we went up there the next day, I did different pockets all the way. And I always tried different baits. And you learn so much just by doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just fishing.
You may not get bit, but, you may not even get bit. You may see a fish react to a bait, or you may see a school of fish and be able to mess around with it while your kids are jumping off, and you do learn so much by just being there, throwing it around, finding stuff, being hung in the same brush pile 2 or 3 times. Then you know how to position your boat when you're fishing a tournament and you're trying to fish deep brush or something, or how hard to crank your crankbait to tick it off the top of, all of it matters.
Yeah. It's that time on the water, and that's like when you talk to a lot of these pros, and every single one of them say the same thing, time on the water. Whether they're fishing an elite event, or like Aaron Martin's talking about, he liked bringing his boat home instead of parking it somewhere, because when he's back home, he wants to fish while he's back at home. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It don't matter where you're at. It's the time on the water and figuring out the bait that you like to throw. That's why he's so good at tuning baits and tuning stuff, because he's always on the water trying to figure out something different.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, then too, you spend time on the water and you're actually really paying attention to what you're doing and making notes of, hey, this is what's going on. And the more it is fun, and you're supposed to be having a lot of time and a lot of fun, but everybody wants to be successful. That's fishing at this level. You know?
That's right. We got Jason Russ. He said, do you guys know where he can get some Uncle Josh pork? The old
Uncle Josh pork, the old school stuff. Wow.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah. I didn't know if they still made it.
Wow.
eBay, man. That's all I
And
know.
with the little screw, the jars that screw open that you reach in there and get one.
Yeah, the stuff you didn't want to touch. You know, you're like, ugh, God, I don't know if I want to put my fingers in there.
Oh, yes, man. How about that? I haven't seen that, and that's a blast from the past. I wonder. That's a great question.
I've never really thought. I've never even because I never really fished it much. Because I hated when you get it on your hook, it was hard to get back off.
Oh God!
And a lot of times, if you put it on a jig, you might as well throw the jig away because it's done. You know what I mean? Like, but
oh yeah, man, a lot of people used to fish that, and how could you cast that stuff hard, or would it just flop off the hook?
Oh heck no!
I mean, was that
it
stuff
stayed
pretty
on.
It wasn't going nowhere.
Once it's on
It
that hook, that
stays
jig
on?
is gonna have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to cut your hook off to get the bait off of it.
Yeah.
So that thing had a pretty powerful scent too, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was just pork fat soaking in nasty juice. You know.
So when it started drying, it dried like leather.
Yeah.
So you didn't take it off your jig before you put it, before you put your rod up or something. You weren't getting that bait off.
Oh, nice.
I remember though that there for a while they were getting like pretty detailed with it because they were actually making it look like crawfish arms and stuff like that with it. But yeah, he just commented and said they don't make it no more. So, but that's the only thing I could probably tell you is go on eBay because I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably eBay. eBay would probably be the best one. Man, I've had some good luck doing it. I mean, I've been looking for man's 6-inch hard-nosed worms. Not the man's hard-nosed, just the man's 6-inch worm that FLW bought at Walmart for 5 years. That you can't buy those anymore. Yeah, my brother had about 1,000 of those when they were going out of business, and I actually contacted Mans. They made, they sent me 1,500 of these, and they were all 4-inch, and I didn't want 4-inch. I wanted 5-inch. They had the SPICE Spice scent in there, and they were dynamite, and I caught a lot of fish on them, but I haven't been able to find them since then in 6-inch. The guy won't even answer any questions. Seems like he's offended. The guy, the representative for the company, seems like he's offended that I even asked, so I just left it alone. So I just left it alone, started fishing.
I had the same problem. I was towing a lizard from them that I couldn't buy anymore, and I was really disappointed.
Yeah.
It had that scent in it too. It also had that spice in it, didn't it? That circle. It was a white circle with red SPICE in there on the side. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely, that thing was.
Are y'all talking about like
dynamite.
Stuff was killer.
Are y'all talking about the worm that FLW had? It was that floating worm that had the air pockets. Is that the
No,
kind of?
It was a time when FLW was real big into Walmarts, and they had their own worms.
Yep.
Yeah, they were made by Mans though.
Okay.
But they were FLW
exactly right.
packaged.
Yeah, and they were just a 6-inch straight tail worm, and it was nothing to it at all.
Yeah, and they had some big curly tail worm that looked a little goofy, and then they had the lizards and stuff. But yeah, that's when FLW stuff was all over Walmart. They had tackle bags, they had shirts, they had everything that you could think of was all Walmart FLW. It's like when they first got into it.
Yeah.
All the plastics in Walmart was in a blue bag that had FLW in it, basically.
Absolutely.
With a little bit of Zoom stuff. I don't even think they had Zoom stuff there.
No, it was. I remember a lot of the man stuff there.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
That and culprit was there. Yeah, culprit worms, I think, in those.
And you don't see much culprit around here anymore. I know, James, you probably see it more down there where you're at, but you don't see much culprit around here anymore.
Not unless you go to Bobcats or something.
Yeah.
Culprit is crazy down here. 90% of the worms down here that people use are culprit.
Wow.
And there's certain worms that people are using that are just, they slam on it down here.
Why don't you name them
I
off
still
those
don't
worm
have
colors?
that much luck on them. Well, I mean, if y'all lived down here, I would, but there's no sense in giving that.
There's no sense in that, is it, James?
No.
No, it's just June bug. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Whatever, you liar.
But a June bug worm and a culprit worm is a really good known thing around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and say, it's a crawdad color too. It's called crawdad culprit.
Gotcha.
It's more of a brown and black. That's known around here pretty good. I don't really use it. I just don't have confidence in it, but
Yeah.
I've been whooped a couple times on it for sure.
I got you. But no, I thought y'all earlier. I don't know if y'all remember those. Remember those worms that FLW had? Mans, I think. I remember. The only reason I bring this up because my dad had some the other day or the other week when I was over there, and it had air pockets all down the body. Do y'all remember those? The little holes in the bottom of them had a little air pockets.
They were like the Carolina rigging. They had lizards and all that stuff with them.
Yeah.
You could put
And
sin
they
in
kept them up off the bottom and they were floating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen those the other day.
Wow.
I was like, holy moly, look at them relics, man. That's some old stuff right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and people used to put sin in those pockets too.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
So when
for
the fish
goodness
bit,
sakes. What
the
about
fish
the
bit down
smoked grub?
on it, when the fish bit down on it, it would push that scent into their mouth and stuff like that, or that flavor. They said it would make them hold on longer
Yeah.
or something.
Get them to the boat and they're not even hooked, huh?
Yeah.
No, they just love it.
Yes.
Now, what was you talking about that smoked grub? Because I know what you're talking about with the smoked grub.
How about them smoked grubs, man? Those what were they? 3.5, 4-inch smoked grubs. Everybody used those. Man, that's all everybody threw on a Carolina rig back. That must have been 20-some years ago.
Yeah.
Man, they're good night, man. I found a handful of those the other day looking through some old stuff.
Well, I mean, that's
Are you
just like
talking
the
about
hula grub.
Twin-tail grub?
It's
Yeah,
just has one tail on it, man, and and nobody uses that anymore. And people used to catch the crap out of fish on those things. I wonder what.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should have threw last night.
Well, that's just. I mean,
Put
that's
me
just.
a couple of those and some squirt, some sin in the air pocket worm, man. I'd have been in good shape.
Yeah, you would have won it. You'd have
That's probably
dominated
what you
that.
needed. Yep. Or a Carolina rigged buzz bait. That probably would have got you.
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
I didn't hear you, man. I swear to God, the dude Kenton that was fishing with me said he was going to Carolina rig a crankbait. I swear to God, I swear he said that.
Hey, I know people do that though.
Yeah, that's
Or
crazy.
Lake
People
Douglas.
that do that.
I don't think I could do
I've
it.
actually tried it.
Oh, God. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess it could, but.
Hey, I'm not brave enough to admit that I've tried it on the air, but I will neither confirm nor deny it.
You tried it last night, didn't you? You were like, man, that looks pretty good. I'm going to try that out.
Yeah, I was jerked a pole. He's 13 years old. Jerked a pole. Give it to me, boy.
Let me show you how to work this thing.
Give it here.
Let me throw a mega bass on the back of that.
Yeah, right. Oh, God.
But,
Yeah, me and Josh, we used to try some crazy stuff.
oh, yeah. Yeah. You get out there.
Stuff.
You get out there in a 12-foot John boat and you see bass boats whipping you. You start coming up with some stuff. You're like, oh, let's try this out. You're going to the jig on the drop shot deal and all that stuff. I mean, it's.
Holy cow.
But
Oh, wow.
guys, I shoot, man, I hate to cut it off. I mean, we're getting close to out of the time there. Eric, I had a good time talking, man.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I wish I'd be able to contribute more, but maybe we'll get in the fall. I'll get on a tear. I mean, I've had my fingers crossed and certainly do. So
Maybe next time I'll be able to contribute instead of ask more questions. Yeah, so let's stay tuned for that one. How about it?
That's right, man. Well, hey, I want to ask you one more question real quick before we let you get going. What do you think about?
Heck yeah.
Okay, since I've posted that I was going to be doing this OneObjective tournament, I ain't trying to start no drama on here by no means. I have caught a pile load of crap for this tournament series. So I want to ask you a question. We've got 4 fall tournament series that's going to be coming up this year on Smith Mountain Lake. What is your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that's too much?
No, I do not think that's too much, because I think these tournaments are going to go out of different places.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are driving past these other tournaments, I think if people are smart and if the weather holds up, now there's a few variables, in my opinion, and if the weather's smart, I think with the stocking of these F1 tiger bass, I think with the weight of the bags that were weighed last winter and or early spring or late fall, I think people are getting excited about this, and I think the turnout's going to be a little bit better. Now, we have to wait and see, but I have thought about that since me and you talked about it a little bit. And I think that I think that there's going to be plenty of participation across the board. I think, I think that with your turnouts from your tournaments last year, that you certainly should feel confident about that. And if it's pulling from this one or that one, but I think if we all work together with the dates, and the times, and even put them off at the same times, and even combine them. Hey, we're doing this and we're doing that. Most of these tournaments are 100% payback anyway, right?
Yeah, I think 2 of them isn't, but I mean, but it's still a lot of. You still got a good chance at winning a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't terrible.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So nobody is gonna bust through and get into Fortune 500 from what they earn over this series, but. I think that there's going to be plenty of participation because of the bags that were weighed last year. These F1 tiger bass stockings are spiking interest. People getting really excited about that, and that's for good reason, because, when Brian Harlow and I came to the scales with 20 pounds, and we took the lead, and only to sit there in the next 6 bags, we were in 5th place.
Yeah,
that's great. And you know what? It sucked for us that day, but overall for Smith Mountain Lake, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that got around pretty quick in the fishing, in the fishing world around Smith Mountain Lake. I think it pulled a lot of people from Bugs Island up this way that wouldn't generally come up here to fish, that are showing up now in some of these bigger tournaments that time of year, because everybody wants a piece of that. If it was going on at Bugs Island, or if it was going on even all the way down to Gaston, I'd be there, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like the Clater Lake guys.
That's my take on that, and I've thought of right.
So
Clater Lake guys are coming over and fishing Smith.
And they're whooping us.
Especially after... Yeah, man, you listen to it 3 or 4 weeks in a row where, you're not getting paid if you have under 21 pounds.
Yeah.
You go get over there and get involved. I would. And if it was happening at Clater, I went down to Clater and fished 2 or 3 tournaments. I've got a great friend down that lives right there on Clater. And I went down and fished a couple of tournaments. Now, I can't figure it out, but all I got to do is spend some time. And if they were weighing 25 pounds every week, I'd be figuring out something or spending the time.
Yeah.
I'd be there. So I think those numbers are across the board. I don't think anybody's stepping on anybody's toes. Everybody that gets excited about that fishing that time of year, I think the population will be there. Now I could be totally wrong, but I don't think that I am.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just kind of concerned about, because I kept looking at it. I was like, man, that's 4 tournaments. You can't schedule around with so many dates, like a couple of them on the same day. And
right.
So, that was my concern. But you know, we're still gonna do our tournament series. I hope to have the schedule up tomorrow, maybe. But you know, mine's gonna. It seems like some of the other ones.
I think another thing.
Go ahead.
I think another thing that helps. Another thing that helps all of these, whoever, you know, we're talking about you probably, just shooting around good ideas is something that would get more people there more regularly. Is, you know, accumulation of points, being able to say, hey, you know, we finished in the top 3, or, you know, figuring out some incentive to fish more of these things rather than, you know, you just come show up, win the money. And I don't even know that you don't do that. But, you know, I saw that, you know, the turnouts that Dwayne Lamb had over there for Captain's Quarters, he did something very similar to that. And even if you're not in the top 3, say, hey, we wanted to finish in the top 10, you know, the first year we fished it or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, and he's still having 17, 18 boats show up for these tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, that's great. I think he did a great job with that. You know, fed them some pizza or something, and you know, I even drove down an hour and a half and fished a couple of these, and he had pizza there, something to drink. You know, he just really handled that really well. I think there's a lot to be learned from that because he had no trouble with his turnouts, and he could pay back really well.
And I think this year, what I screwed up last year, and you know, as you do them, you learn more and more, but was our payout. You know, I was doing every 7 boats, which the first tournament we had, I think 20. Needed 21 boats to pay out the next spot. Well, I think this year what I'm going to do is pay out. I'm just going to take the money and say, all right, we're paying out 3 spots. You know what I mean? And I'm going to split the money up by percentage, and everybody, you know, top 3 are going to get checked. Granted, first place might only get $100. Well, hopefully you get more than that. But in general, you know, he might only get $100, and then the next guy gets 50, and the next guy gets whatever, you know. But hopefully,
anything over like 10 or 15 boats 12 to 15 boats will pay back 3 spots or something like that. You can play around with that, and you can even ask the guys that show up, hey, you know, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
That's always, you know, that type of feedback's always great, and you know, the democracy seems to be the best way to get past any of these obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, you know, and it's really tough to play, like, you know, with the scheduling and all. I know basketball season is going, and you know, we had a lot of people that couldn't fish last year because they were on Sundays and they go to church, and I understand that, I get that.
Yeah.
And then, but we had some people that, you know, couldn't fish on Saturdays because of basketball and, you know, other obligations to family stuff. So we're going to alternate them this year. I'm not going to do points, but I'm going to alternate them and see what our turnouts are like, you know. So.
Yeah. And, you know, moving forward, you're building something anyway. You know, you're going to have trial and error regardless of what you decide to do, Josh. So I'm just glad you're doing it. I think it really helps me out when Angler's Choice hits in March, when our clubs tournaments kicked off. And I think it gives me a lot of reason, because it does get stale going and fishing in the freezing cold, and every one you catch you put back in the water and take a picture of it or something like that. You know, it gives you a purpose. I've got to have a purpose to do something just like everybody else. And, you know, I do like to go out and fish without fishing a tournament from time to time, but I'm glad that you guys, you know, I'm glad that there's such, you know, enough people that take ownership of it enough to run a tournament trail that time of the year, you know, and I don't think that participation is going to be a problem whatsoever. You know, if it's bad weather, of course, but you know, all in all, I think it's a great idea. We'll see how it goes. You know, I'm going to support it, you know that, but we'll see what happens. You know, all my people will be down there because everybody's trying to dig in and see what they can come up with that time of year.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on, man. Had a great time. Like I said, I want to get you back on again, and maybe through the winter we'll get you on and talk more about our tournament series and how everybody's doing. So.
Yes, I'm happy to do it, man. Thank you, Josh. James, take it easy, baby. Y'all take care. Thank you for having me on. I'll do it anytime.
All right, buddy. We talk to you later.
I really appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, fellas.
See you, buddy.
All right.
All right. Well, that I tell you what, that was last time we had Eric on. It was a great time, and having him on again, it was a good time. You know, we can just talk and talk and talk fishing all night long if we had more time. Kind of running a little bit low. We still got a little bit of time to spare on some few things we need to touch base on. But I want to touch base on one thing. I just got a text message from my wife earlier when I was talking about the hooking up the boat, and she already had the boat ready and all that, and talking about back in the glory days. Sorry, baby. It's still the glory days. I still love you. So she sent me a message saying, "What do you mean the glory days? I'm still an awesome wife." So, anyways. Jason,
oh boy,
might be trouble in paradise when I get over here. I don't know. But anyways, no, she's still great. She's still a great wife.
I still love you.
Oh, I know you would.
I still love you.
Oh, I know you would. If we ain't talking when we come down here this weekend, that's why. But no, she's a good woman. I wouldn't trade her for the world. So she puts up with us, and Ashley puts up with you. So they got to be good women.
They're crazy.
Yeah, we're crazy. Well, most of them are crazy, but I'm gonna get in trouble again. So.
Oh boy! just be quiet. We need to end this show because you're just digging yourself a hole.
We're getting big old trouble. Anyways, I want to thank everybody that's listened. We are going to be doing our tournament series. I was just talking with Eric. The dates will be coming out either Monday or Tuesday. Kind of busy with my job right now and everything going on, but I do plan on having them at least out by Wednesday, but hopefully Monday or Tuesday. So, I mean, man, we had a great show. I want to thank, we picked up some subscribers as the show was going on, so I really want to thank Justin for calling in, and we also had Jason Russ commenting, and we had C. Gray, which, James, I meant to say earlier, we didn't get a chance to, kind of went off the topic, but he was talking about the Mr. Twister smoked sassy grub is great bait here in Northeast. So, if you can find it, he said. So, but anyways, guys, we had a fun time. You know, everybody that's listening on iTunes, please go and rate our show if you don't mind. Just like to hear what y'all have to say about our show. You know, where we need to improve or what y'all want to hear more of, or that way too it keeps other people coming in and listening when they can read a review and find out it's a great show. Or if it's really bad and you really don't like it, I can understand. So I don't understand, but I can, you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. So, but anyways, guys, we got a video. It's gonna be coming out soon. Went wading, like I said, down there at the Otter, caught some nice smallmouth. So stay tuned for that video. And me and James will be shooting as much video as we possibly can down there this weekend. So, James, I hope you're ready. Shoot a lot of video.
Oh, I'm ready.
So, we got some cool stuff we're working on. What are you laughing about?
Just you.
Oh, he's thinking dirty.
What?
I thought you was thinking dirty.
What?
You thinking dirty?
No, I'm not. I'm not that type of guy.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so we have some great videos coming up, and but anyways, like I say, rate us on iTunes. Please go subscribe to us to get entered in the giveaway once we hit 200 subscribers. And please go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be doing our other contest on Facebook, so please go like our page, follow us, and once we hit that, we'll be giving away our other prize pack. So, other than that, James, I'll see you this weekend. And
yeah, you will.
I'm ready to go do some fishing, shoot some video, man. So, guys, we'll talk to you later. Thank y'all for everybody listening, and thank for the comments we got and the phone calls. So, talk to you guys later. Have a great night.
All right, man.
for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.